when you look at Trump's policies, it's very difficult to see a pro-Israel pattern. I don't see it. So Trump stopped the Israelis in Lebanon when they were winning. They were winning against a terrorist organization that has no right to exist, because Hezbollah has no right to exist. It's an organization created to destroy the Israeli state in genocide. So why would Trump protect them? Hezbollah for years now has been controlling Lebanon. They are effectively the government of Lebanon. Why would Trump protect that? And after Trump forced an agreement with a ceasefire agreement with Lebanon, he resumed sending weapons to the Lebanese armed forces. But those weapons are for Hezbollah, because Hezbollah has governed the state of Lebanon. They have controlled the Lebanese government for a while now. They have 2/3 of the portfolios in the government, which means they have control of the Supreme Defense Council, which controls the Lebanese armed forces. And therefore, all of the armament that Trump is sending to the Lebanese army, which is supposedly for disarming Hezbollah, which never happens, those weapons are really not for disarming Hezbollah. They are arming Hezbollah. So that is Trump's policy in Lebanon. He has chosen to protect a terrorist organization whose mission is the genocide of the Israeli Jews. And in Syria, he did the same thing. In Syria, when Assad surprisingly fell in a matter of days, Al-Jolani, who's no great military leader, he was trapped in Idlib, right? He couldn't get out of Idlib. The only reason he survived there was because of Turkish support. In that moment, Jolani saw a direct line to Damascus, and that's the only reason he could get to Damascus. And in that chaos, Israel was advancing from the south with support from the Druze population, and they could have continued to advance all the way to the northeast and join with the Rojava Kurds in the north, who are not only democratic, they're libertarian, they emancipated Kurdish women, they protect all the minorities, they defeated ISIS, they're great allies for the Israeli Jews. If Israel had just continued moving north in Syria in that chaos, they would have easily liberated Syria. Instead, Trump insisted that they stop and that they recognize Jolani's government, which Trump went to Riyadh to shake Jolani's hand and de facto give him recognition. And now Trump has removed the sanctions on Syria now that Jolani is governing Syria. Look, Al-Jolani is ISIS. He is the Al-Nusra Front, which was created by ISIS. The only reason he ever fought ISIS was because he didn't want to be al-Baghdadi's, subordinate, but they never had any ideological differences. So that's ISIS. They want to destroy Israel too. They want to destroy it in genocide. And Trump has now insisted that Israel recognize them as the legitimate government of Syria. That's not a pro-Israeli policy. And if we keep going around, we see the same pattern. He is now giving armament to Saudi Arabia that is going to destroy the military superiority of the Israelis vis-a-vis Saudi Arabia. Keep going around. Think about Iran, right? The policy towards Iran is incredible. In the 12-day war, Israel was hitting Iran with impunity. They had no air defenses. The Iranian regime was hours away, maybe, from collapsing. The Ayatollahs were hours away, perhaps, from just losing everything. And that's when Trump came in, dropped a couple of bombs so that he could be a co-belligerent. And then, as a co-belligerent, he imposed the ceasefire on Israel. That ceasefire didn't hurt the Iranians, it saved the Iranians. What it did is it destroyed Israel's ability to take the Ayatollahs off the map as dangerous enemies of Israel. Why is Trump doing that if he's pro-Israel? And then you have Qatar. Look, Qatar is almost the most dramatic chess piece on the board because
you
Qatar...
may add Turkey as well.
Yes, Turkey, exactly, because Turkey is the mafioso godfather of ISIS in Syria. right?
Yeah.
And Trump has a very good relationship with Turkey, and he wants to arm the Turks. He wants to give them the U.S. Jet fighters that they've always wanted. And meanwhile, Turkey is the Erdogan, the president of Turkey, has been saying that he wants to destroy Israel. He's been saying it out loud, right? And now he controls Syria. So we are always in danger of taking too seriously the things that people say. And I think that the things that people say are useless. We need to pay attention at the things that people do. What matters is what the policies are on the ground. And the policies on the ground of the Trump administration, regardless of how many nice words they say in favor of Israel, has been disastrous for Israeli security. I was about to tell you about Qatar, which is almost the most telling example, because Qatar is the state that attacked Israel on October 7th. And that's the most, why? Because they are the mafioso godfather of Hamas. Qatar has been financing much of the infrastructure that Hamas has built in Gaza to attack the Israelis. So, and they have been protecting the Hamas leaders in Qatar. So Qatar is the state that attacked Israel on October 7th, 2023, which is the biggest terrorist attack since the Holocaust. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
Qatar happens to be the biggest ally of the United States in the entire region, and that's because they have the U.S. has its biggest, most important military base there, the Al Udeid base, which is the headquarters for CENTCOM, whose area of responsibility, Central Command, is North Africa, the Middle East, and Central Asia. It's very important. So that's the big ally of the United States. It's not Israel. And when Israel tried to do something against Hamas in Qatar, Trump's reaction was violent offense. And he had Netanyahu apologize to the Emir of Qatar, to the Al Thani Emir of Qatar, and then he declared that Qatar would have NATO-level protection from the United States. So Qatar is the state that the United States really cares about, and it protects Qatar from Israel after Qatar launched the worst terrorist attack against Israelis since World War II. That's
So
what Trump is doing.
Where do you put that declaration of outlawing the Muslim Brotherhood in the United States, which we heard about a few days ago?
Well, that's obviously just a piece of theater. If
Okay.
you're really going to attack the Muslim Brotherhood, you need to take Qatar off the map. And from the Al Udeid base that the United States has inside Qatar, within an hour, the U.S. could take control of Qatar. So if the U.S. was really an ally of Israel, after October 7th, Qatar would have disappeared. And it would have been almost zero cost to the United States. Or the United States could just keep its mouth shut, and it could allow Israel to attack Qatar. But it does none of that. It protects Qatar from the Israelis. The entire concern with the hostages and the various policies to get the hostages back is a form of cooperation with the strategy of the jihadi terrorists. They want negotiations to release hostages. That's their entire strategy. Therefore, the different policies that have been put in motion to collaborate with the hostage negotiations, those are all anti-Israeli policies. This should have been clear after Gilad Shalit if it hadn't been clear before. It should have been clear from the beginning because it's logically obvious. Any negotiation with terrorists to release hostages, all it does is give the terrorists a tremendous incentive to take more hostages. The Gilad Shalit negotiation is a very clear example of this because in exchange for one Israeli soldier, 1,000 terrorists were released from Israeli jails, and those terrorists included Yahya Sinwar and other people who were key to the planning and the execution of the October 7th attacks. So it is obvious that every time you negotiate with terrorists for the release of hostages, what you get is more dead Israeli civilians and larger numbers of hostages. In exchange for Gilad Shalit, Israel turned in 1,200 dead Israeli civilians and 250 new hostages. That's the real arithmetic. So all of this stuff to get hostages released is just another attack on Israel, because it's telling the jihadi terrorists, go ahead and take more hostages. So this is endangering the security not only of Israeli civilians, but of Jewish civilians in the diaspora. It is a disastrous policy for the entire Jewish nation. And this is exactly what Trump has been pushing for. What you're really asking is, maybe the United States is not anti-Semitic. Maybe Trump is not anti-Semitic. He just needs money. This is the question you're asking.
Which is the basic for his relationships with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and whatever.
Right, exactly. So his policies are anti-Israel, but it's not because he's anti-Semitic. It's because he needs the money of the jihadis, right? Well, let's say that's true. Let's say he's not anti-Semitic fundamentally. He just cares more about money than he cares about the survival of the Jewish nation. Okay, well, if that's the motivator for Trump, he is anti-Israel. He is anti-Israel because he needs money, but he is anti-Israel. So the policies are still designed to destroy the Jewish state, because they are policies that make the jihadis happy. And the jihadis want to kill every last living Jew. So
and what
if
would
Trump
you
is
expect
doing
Netanyahu to do in this situation?
Netanyahu should tell Trump to go take a hike. When Trump tells Netanyahu that he should surrender his victory in Lebanon to Hezbollah, he should say, no, I'm going to liberate Lebanon. When Trump says stop in Syria, Netanyahu should say, no, I'm going to liberate Syria. I'm going to eliminate the threats to the security of the Jewish population, of the Jewish state. Netanyahu's responsibility is to protect the security of the Jews in the Jewish state.
But do you think that realistically we can do whatever we want?
You're not supposed to reduce Hezbollah's ability to attack you. You're supposed to destroy Hezbollah. The policy in World War II should never have been to degrade the Nazis so that the Nazis are a little bit weaker than they were the day before. No, you have to destroy the Nazis, because the Nazis wanted to destroy all of us. So what do you have to do with Hezbollah, with Hamas, with PLO Fatah in Judea and Samaria, with the Egyptians in Sinai? You have to destroy them all, because the goal of those people is to destroy the Jewish state in genocide, and they have no right to do that. There is no right to destroy another state in genocide. Therefore, any organization or state that has that as a goal, they have to be destroyed. And that is what a true Jewish patriot, which Netanyahu obviously is not, would be doing. Okay? A true Jewish patriot would be explaining to the world and to the Jews, listen, the Trump administration is trying to make me lose a war that I'm winning against forces that want to exterminate my people. Therefore, I will not obey, because I am not a servant or a slave of Trump. I am the leader of the Jewish nation. And as a leader of the Jewish nation, my obligation, my responsibility is to protect the Jews in the Jewish nation, in the Jewish state, from extermination, because that is the reason that the Jewish state was created. It was to protect the Jews from extermination. So for example, what is PLO Fatah doing in Judea and Samaria? PLO Fatah, Al-Fatah was created by Haj Amin al-Husseini, who was one of the top exterminators of the European Jews in the Nazi final solution. That's the guy who created what we call the Palestinian Authority. What are they doing inside the Jewish state? And if Trump is an ally of Israel, why isn't he supporting a total destruction of PLO Fatah? Because we know that the PLO, what we call the Palestinian Authority, they have what is called the pay for slay program, where they're spending gigantic sums of money paying any Arab Palestinian who kills the Jew. Those people have no right to exist. People who pay terrorists to kill Jews have zero right to exist. What are they doing there? What are they doing there? Why isn't Netanyahu expelling or killing all of PLO Fatah?
Francisco Gil-Wright, we couldn't agree more. Thank you very much for giving me this interview.